Hi, everybody. This is Jessica from jessicalazellcannon.com. Thanks for tuning in. Listen, we had such a great time this other day talking with Katie. I wanted to have her back again. And this is Katie Epps from My Body GX. For those of you who caught it last time, you know what she's into. She's fabulous, and I highly recommend her. But for those of you who are tuning in today, Katie, can you give us a quick snippet of what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I had such a good time in the first conversation. I love talking about food and nutrition. My Body GX is a DNA company. We use DNA testing for nutrition and fitness, wellness. We go into everything from how your body breaks down macronutrients, which are your protein, carbohydrates, and fats, to how your body breaks down body fat through cardiovascular exercise or resistance training. We look at your micronutrients, which are your vitamins and minerals, and how your body has the predisposition of breaking that down and passing those nutrients through the cellular wall. And then everything from, skin aging and wrinkling, predisposition to early hearing loss, systemic inflammation, which is something that we touched on in the last show. How does your food and your environment and your body naturally react to stress and that inflammation, and what can we do to combat that? And then we look at not only all of those things, but we look at how your body could potentially be as far as what the predisposition is. But more importantly, with that given information is how can we change our lifestyle habits to get the end result that we're looking for, which is healthy energy, healthy gut, higher energy, and an overall ability not only to care for ourselves, but to care for others.
Perfect. And so last time we talked about finding healthy resources to fuel our body, which leads perfectly into today's topic, because once we fuel our bodies, we've got to, the inputs cannot be greater than our outputs. We have to balance that. And in this case, outputs being exercise, fitness. Yep. And that's something that people dismiss often just because life is crazy now. Things, life gets away from us and we lose sight of how much we even are getting up during the day, and our work schedules are too sedentary. I know I lived that for too long, quite honestly. But once I stepped away from that, then I realized how important it is. But then also with caregiving, you see how much negative effects it is to our bodies with muscle atrophy and the fatigue that just kind of compounds day after day. So one of the things I definitely wanted to dispel today is exercise and how easy it really is for us to do on a day-to-day basis. And it doesn't mean you have to be in the gym every day, or physically drive to a gym. If you have one at home, even better, use it instead of, letting clothes hang on it. But it doesn't have to be something where it's hard, heavy weightlifting or hour and a half every day, or help me tell others how to break this out to be a happy, healthy.
Yeah. So I think we have a couple of issues with fitness and lifestyle training in general. Is one, I think there's a lot of guilt behind it. Caregivers not wanting to take that time out for themselves because, they should be taking care of the person that they're taking care of, whether that's your aging mother or your grandmother or your children. You have that I have to be at home and I have to be doing these things. And I could spend, 20 minutes doing yoga, or I could spend 20 minutes doing laundry. And I'm not going to lie, laundry generally wins. And it's because you feel that you shouldn't allow yourself that time for whatever the reason is. But fitness isn't just vanity. It's not just about how your body looks. It's also about how your body feels. One of the major things that you can combat is just depression and stress.
Absolutely.
Because you're naturally raising your hormone levels and you're getting rid of cortisol, and your body is just naturally your DHEA, which is your happy hormone, so it's going to increase as you exercise. I mean, that not only speaks to systemic inflammation, but it's helps to build natural lean muscle tissue. So knowing that about getting out there and doing even the most basic walk, stretch, anything that is moving your body and getting your extremities going. And you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to get on this crazy sweat. You don't have to, deadlift 420 pounds. I mean, let's be real here. We just want to get our bodies moving and grooving.
We're not trying to blow out our backs or anything.
Exactly. But it's more important than that. So something that we had talked about discussing is, What else does exercise, fitness, and specifically cardiovascular work, which speaks directly to our heart, how does that help to increase longevity, to increase your mood, to increase the way your body functions? And the biggest thing is when you're doing cardio, your goal is to increase your heart health, which is why they call it cardiovascular exercise. And what does that look like? It looks like increasing your VO2 max, which is the volume of oxygen for every beat that you have. You want to oxygenate your blood in the most efficient way possible. So by doing more work, increasing your oxygenation, which would be obviously breathing more. So if you become a little bit breathless in, your dance party or something like that, that's actually oxygenating your blood more efficiently. And so with every beat of your heart, you're increasing the volume of that oxygen in your blood. But a secondary part of that is your stroke volume. So how much blood is being pushed per beat. And so both of these things, when combined together, is actually more efficient to pushing that blood to your extremities. And I know, especially if you have a sedentary lifestyle, if the person that you're taking care of doesn't move around a lot, that extremity circulation really suffers. And I know you saw that with your mom.
Definitely.
So making sure that you're getting enough oxygen, making sure that you're increasing your stroke, making sure that your organ function and everything is getting all of that oxygen, because it's not just that's obviously passing through your blood. It's the vitamins, it's the minerals, it's those new cells, in with the good, out with the bad. Let's recirculate everything. HDL levels, which is your good cholesterol, when you do any kind of physical activity, you can naturally start building up your good cholesterol. So if you typically have an issue with your LDL or your bad cholesterol, or the person that you're taking care of does, you can actually help them combat that by getting them to move their body and increasing their own good cholesterol. And then insulin. So insulin is our hormone that we use in order to mitigate and transfer energy. So you have one of two options that happens when you ingest food, which would then turn into glucose in your body. One, you can use that for energy now, or you can store that for energy later. Now read that as you can either have energy now or you can have body fat now. Which do you prefer? So if you can naturally increase your insulin, your body doesn't generally then go directly into a fat storage mode. It actually will then use that energy, that food, to actually move your body, to help your organs function, to boost your mood, things of that nature. And then you're less likely to store as much of that energy in excess as body fat. So the goal would be then to increase your insulin so that you're not storing.
And gaining weight, and because for me, every time I gained weight, I got stressed. And if I got stressed, I got depressed. And it was not a good cycle to be in.
Exactly. So those are the more heart healthy reasons, why your body physically reasons that you should be doing any kind of cardiovascular exercise. The other thing is when you reduce, that can lead into reduction of weight. When you reduce your weight, you're actually reducing a lot of stress on your body. And one thing that you had pointed out that is if you lose 15 pounds, you take 4 pounds of pressure off of your knees.
Exactly. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And we don't think about that until we're having, again, the problems. Some people say, well, I can't go walking or I can't run because my knees, I'm having problems with my knees. Well, at the same time, your solution is your problem. You need to lessen your weight. So then you take the pressure off your knees. And guess what? Now you can walk and maybe even run.
Well, and think about other parts of the body. Like think about people, like my mom has a hip issue. Luckily, she doesn't have a weight issue. But if she did have a weight issue plus a hip issue, that would be terrible. Think about how many people suffer from lower back or back issues in general.
Personally, I had my own sciatic nerve issues, and being very sedentary, I'd get to the point where after sitting for 4 to 6 hours, I had to move because I would feel the pain in my hips. And whenever I stood up to move, I felt like I was an 80 or 90-year-old woman trying to rise and stand until, again, I had to change routines.
And then think about the people that we're caring for. So with your aging mother, like as she is becoming less and less willing to get up and go to the mailbox, or less and less willing to get up and move around, think about what that's doing to her body, although she's not envisioning it or feeling it the same way because it's become part of her lifestyle. But imagine what that's doing to her body. And so, yeah, it doesn't feel good to get up and move around. So why would she want to?
And that's where you get to the point where instead of doing it for yourself and staying in a happy, healthy routine, now from my mother's perspective, she's actually having to be told it's time to get up to go to the restroom. It's time to get up and go for a short walk. It's time to move. Let's get some circulation going. And when she's able to, she is definitely far more coherent and talkative and even just happier in general.
Yeah.
But when she's not, and she's given the opportunity to sit for long periods of time, she can't stay awake.
Yep.
And you see the effects of, well, a lot of people who sit at work, and let's be honest, sometimes we would rather be elsewhere instead of sitting in an office under fluorescent lights. But sometimes sitting in these offices, you get tired, you get sleepy, you're bored, and you're achy until you can get up and walk around and move around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in our lifestyle, like as Americans, people are sitting longer and longer, not only at work, but even, you sit in your car, you wake up in the morning,
Right,
you get
commute.
ready, you sit in your car, you go to the office where you sit down for 6 to 8 to 10 hours, depending on your job. And then you get back in your car and you sit back and then you get home and you sit down at the kitchen table and you eat your dinner, and then you sit down in front of the television and watch the television, and then you go lay back down in your bed.
Yep.
And they're saying that that's just as bad as smoking. Like, sitting is the new smoking.
Exactly.
And that is, I don't want to say that particular lifestyle is a choice, but a lot of that is a choice. Like the sitting down in front of the television, that's a choice. But you don't feel that way because you've been sitting all day and you feel so lethargic and your whole body hurts and your adrenals are shot and you're overly stressed and you have family and work and this and that, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, going to the gym sounds terrible.
It does. And it sounds like just one more chore of the day.
Right.
And one more thing that I have to squeeze into the day. I'm not a morning person naturally, but waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do a workout and then get myself ready at 6 o'clock and out the door to be somewhere by 7:30, especially with the way traffic is increasing here.
Oh, for sure.
It adds the stress to the day right out of the gates at the beginning of every day.
Yep. Not only does the excess weight hold you down and hold you in that sedentary lifestyle, but it actually wreaks havoc on a lot of other areas in our body. It increases your risk of heart disease. It increases your risk of stroke.
Definitely.
So clogged arteries, our hearts aren't functioning as well because a heart is a muscle. So if you want to, if you do curls for girls and you want those pretty biceps, you have to work that heart muscle too. It reduces some forms of cancer by losing weight. There's a lot of cancers that develop in that fatty tissue. Certain people with BMIs over 35, so when you start hitting into that obese range, they're far more at risk for disease states that are completely environmentally avoidable, cancers that they probably wouldn't have to have gotten, hormone issues that may not have ever been an issue if they had stayed in a healthy BMI. Energy levels. Think about increasing your energy level. Like if you go for a walk in the morning, how much more energy do you have than if you don't? Even I notice this sometimes in the afternoon lull. Sometimes I'm just so tired and the children are home from school and I just I've been at work and I feel like I quote unquote need a break. And sometimes we take the dog for a walk and I feel like $1 million afterwards.
You're
and my kids love it. Yeah.
You
get
fresh
outside.
Air going.
Yes. Some vitamin D. And it doesn't even have to be aggressive. Like sometimes we'll literally walk around the block and you just feel so much better. Just
sometimes that's all it takes.
Rejuvenation. Exactly. Let's say that you don't have that option. Maybe you live in a bad neighborhood. Maybe it's snowing outside. Maybe it's a monsoon of rain. Getting up and moving, putting on some good music and dancing, with your family, dancing with the person that you're taking care of. Find their favorite jam. What gets them going? Is it salsa music? Is it dirty rap? You don't know. It could be amazing. I am constantly surprised at the words of songs that my husband's grandmother knows. And I was like, I didn't know you knew Dr. Dre. and wow. And oh, I didn't know I heard that, it's awesome. But the music, that's so motivating to so many people.
Definitely. I've actually recently started adding it to my daily routines just because, doing house chores, there's nothing exciting about that.
No.
But sometimes that's what makes me feel productive.
Yeah.
You know, I got the laundry done, I got the dishes done, I got the house dusted, or anything that makes me feel like I can check off boxes for the day. At the same time, it's not exactly the exciting kind of exercise. So I will plug in and get the music going, and I'm moving while I'm doing whatever. And I felt like I had a workout.
Yep.
Because I'm dancing my way through my chores.
Yeah, do it. I mean, cleaning to George Strait, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's just good music. I love that guy. But yeah, you're exactly right. And the most mundane things can be so much more exciting. In our backyard, we have surround sound, so I can turn on the music out there.
Perfect.
And the little boys will, roller skate or bike or whatever in the backyard, turn on music, even more fun. I mean, just everything is more fun with music. So, but other things that can help with reducing risk, you reduce your risk of osteoporosis, which especially in our aging parents is really important. Maintaining that bone structure, those ligaments and tendons, all those connective tissues along with their muscles. Resistance, any kind of resistance training, and I'm not saying go and deadlift weight,
right? No.
But I'm talking, like take them out and have them garden, carry some water out with you. Something that weighs 3 to 5 pounds. It's not going to overload them, but something just to give them a little. Honestly, even if they carry around the hose, the water hose,
there's some weight in that. Yes.
Yep, and just range of motion, and stretching out their body, moving, getting that circulation to their limbs. So good. It reduces their risk of anemia. Not so much an issue with aging parents, but it reduces the risk of infertility.
Right. Which younger women who are not aware of that and trying to work on building the family and not, those are, again, these are the simple things that we can add into our lifestyle, and we don't even consider it.
Yeah. One of the things, I have a girlfriend that went through infertility treatments, and she didn't have a weight issue, but one of the things that her doctor had talked about was, you really need to be in a healthy BMI, and that means not too lean.
Right.
And not too heavy.
Exactly.
So just being well-rounded, healthy, eating well-balanced food, getting movement, just being all around.
And it's interesting because you would think not being too lean, that you should be good, right? Well, being too lean is something that as we age, we hit a certain age where we start losing muscle mass.
Yep.
And if you don't maintain that throughout your life, then by the time you are like my mother, who is now with mixed dementia and very sedentary, and it is a struggle to get her up and moving, but she's losing muscle mass. Yep.
And keeping that, as much as we can, keeping them moving, and then, anything that we can do to add a little bit of resistance. And honestly, sometimes body weight's enough. You just have to then manipulate to move your body in the right ways.
So in resistance, how would I be able to add some resistance for her, since her routine, getting her up in the mornings, once we get her, teeth brushed, change clothes, hair brushed, all that kind of stuff, that in itself is movement for her. And there's sometimes that just in changing clothes, she's winded. But while during the day, and she's in between maybe before or after lunch, what would be something that I could help her do indoors?
Yeah, so you could do something, I would encourage putting on some music, but you could stand and do high knees. So you would march in place in front of her, and if she's physically able, stand in front of you and lift up her knees. If she needs assistance, set her in front of a table, or if she has a walker or something that can help her stabilize, hold on to something structurally sound, and lift her knees up too. Curl your heel back to your glutes. So basically kick your own bottom. You don't have to run into it. You can literally stand in place and lift your left leg up, put it back down, and lift your right leg up. Have her kind of mimic those same things. If she's more sedentary and she doesn't want to get up, having her kick her leg out in front of her and straighten and flex her quadriceps, so the top of her leg, is going to give her just circulation, more movement. Now, if she's feeling like she's getting stronger, you could then add exercise bands, little resistance bands. They come very, very light all the way to more challenging. You can get them on Amazon, I think, for $10. So it's not something that would be a major investment. They maybe weigh, combined all your bands, maybe a pound and a half, something like that. So they're I always recommend it for people that travel a lot. But these are, because you can throw them in and they can go in the overhead compartment.
Easy.
Yep, for sure. But it's something that you could add for her that she could have a little bit of resistance to her movements if she felt like it. Other things you could do is while she's sitting there, have her do toe taps. Tap her toes to the floor, kind of windshield wiper left, right, maybe make circles. Again, we're just looking for circulation, right, which would be super helpful. And then anything that you would think of exercise-wise, but take away the weight. So for an example, bicep curls. There's no reason. You could give her soup cans if you want to add some resistance, but she could literally just move her arms up and down, probably with the way that she is sedentary wise. It honestly wouldn't take much for her to start feeling the burn, if you will, of moving that muscle tissue. Pressing her arms overhead, something that I've seen a lot with aging adults is that overhead press, like lifting their arms up over their heads. They have a problem with it because there becomes issues with that range of motion in their shoulders because of the connective tissues. The connective tissues get so tight, especially in our environment where we have a tendency to fold ourselves forward, either looking at an iPhone or an iPad, or I guess it doesn't have to be an Apple device, but whatever. Your computer, but we all or even a book. Like, we have a tendency to hunch over and hunch forward, and so we lose that range of motion of pulling your shoulders back.
Yeah, we do. And she had a car accident years ago. She did some physical therapy, but it was something that unless you're encouraged to do, and she definitely at this point needs the encouragement, the daily encouragement, she won't do it on her own. So just something as simple as brushing her hair, lifting that arm to brush her hair, it's painful.
Yeah. And just getting a little bit of extra movement, even if she started off doing 3 sets of 5 repetitions. I mean, it's at some point you have to think about things as it's not in quantity, it's just in quality. So how can I get you to do it 3 times? Can I get you to do it 5 times? Can I get you to do it 5 times twice?
Right.
So just little by little. And like you said earlier, the misconception of I have to go in and do an hour worth of work 5 times a week in order for it to be worth it is just absolutely not true. Moving your body at all is better than nothing. Yes. The more that you can do, the better, but it's not something that has to be for time. And everybody's individual life situations, like, it should be lifestyle thoughtful and appropriate. So the things that are easy for you to get around to are probably the things that you're going to stick with long term. If it is a chore or you hate it, you'll do it for a week or 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 90 days if you're super aggressive. But at some point, if it doesn't make sense for you or your lifestyle or what you habitually attracted to, it's just not going to work.
Right. And that's why I eventually started doing yoga, because it was something that was light impact and something I can do in my house. And when I started to do it, guess what? Sciatic nerve issues went away.
Yep.
And so now I'm to the point where I do it every morning. And when I don't do it, I feel the difference. I feel the tightness of muscles, and I start getting that throbbing pain in my hips. But once I stretch everything back out, I'm good to go. And it's almost like in my mind, I feel young again. Yeah. Because I'm moving like I used to instead of being restricted in movement.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that will lead into this. So if we know how we can care for our more sedentary charges, how can we care for ourselves, those of us who are ideally or hopefully more physically fit? But let's say that you don't have a lot of time, or you don't go to the gym, or, I don't know, some of you might live in Minnesota and it might be, 10 feet of snow outside. I don't even know.
True.
But, so what can you do? Well, if you're in an environment where you can, go outside and go for a brisk walk. And again, this doesn't have to be 30 minutes or an hour. It can literally be around the block now, and around the block later, and around the block in an hour or 2. Right. Something that just keeps getting your body moving. If you happen to have a stationary bike or an elliptical at home or something of that nature, put it somewhere that's convenient that you can then continue to watch your charge or take care of the people that you need to, but in an environment that feels comfortable. So if you and your mom naturally watched a show together, like on a regular basis, maybe Big Bang Theory was your jam, you could use that whole 30 minutes on the elliptical or on your stationary bike. Any kind of a body weight routine, yoga is an excellent one, but there's so many online that you can find that graduate from sedentary all the way to physically fit. where you can really move through like, okay, I'm going to primarily work groundwork today. I'm going to primarily work legs today. You know, sitting, honestly, a lot of people who have an issue with leg strength, taking a kitchen chair and sitting down into it and standing up without grabbing a hold of anything can really be a lot of work. So finding that functionality, finding what works for your body, and then gradually moving. You know, if you start with sitting in a chair and then you move to body weight squats, and then you move to holding a 5-pound bag of flour. And again, you don't need external weight. Like, we have plenty of stuff around the house that can help you out. Yoga is, of course, great. Dance party, again, I can't even stress how much that builds your good endorphins, like how much better you feel.
Yes, because when I dance, when I work out, and
it feels
either working out or cleaning, whatever, I feel so good.
There's a reason Zumba is like the jam.
There's
a reason that it like has such a following, because it's so fun. And it's in that environment where you can lose yourself to music. Spin is the same way. So a lot of cycling studios, Soul Cycle, here in Austin, Texas, we have Love and Ride, which are local studios. When you go, you ride to the beat of the music and you do literally dance moves on a bicycle for 45 minutes. When I was, I don't know.
I'm sold.
I know, right? It was amazing. I think I was 7 weeks postpartum with my first child, and I was coaching, and I met up with a woman, and she's like, oh, do you ever cycle? I was like, oh, I'm kind of bored. Like, I'm tired of stair mill, blah, blah, blah. And she said, have you ever tried a cycling class? And I was like, oh, I don't bicycle. She's like, oh, no. You don't, no. Let me invite you. Come as my guest. Check this out. She's like, it's literally a nightclub at 8:30 in the morning. And, you know, for a first-time mom who I'm pretty sure I'm never going to a bar or nightclub or even to dinner ever again. I'm lucky that I don't have my hair in, you know, with spit up in it. I was like, okay, I'll come with you. So for almost a year, my quote-unquote guilty pleasure on Saturday mornings is I would leave my baby for an hour and a half. I would go to the bicycle gym and I would dance my heart out.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. And I felt like when I got back, I'd be like, I feel like $1 million. I was a completely new mom. Like, I was a better wife, like just everything, because I felt great. And they do everything. I mean, I won't stay on this subject too long, but they do everything. They'll do like 70s dance music. They'll do Latin. They'll do theme rides where it's Beyonce versus Jay-Z. I mean, it's so fun. So anyway.
That is great.
So music obviously is going to bring up your soul. Another thing that you could do at home is gardening. So if you have a lawn that you normally mow, maybe think about getting a push mower that has no engine. Granted, depending on the grading of your yard, but that in itself is going to be a great piece of exercise if you like to actually garden and plant flowers. I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, weeding and just taking care of and cultivating those plants not only is great for you, but if you can then get like your mom to come out and water as you're weeding, I mean, that's great for her. Get out in the sun, vitamin D, just awesome. And then if you are physically capable or it makes sense for your environment, and you have a bike, go ride your bike through your neighborhood. Again, it doesn't have to be excessive. It doesn't have to be, you know, a 15-20 mile ride. Like, there's no reason you can't do 2-3 miles, get in 15-20 minutes and come home. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. Or if you have a pet, like, take your dog for a walk. And not only do they love that and bring happiness to you, but then your
pet needs some love and exercise too.
For sure. So those are some of my ideas for getting out and getting busy and doing some good work.
That's awesome. So when I noticed when I was able to get her out and walk that it's like, and I hate to say it this way, but she came back. You know, that's one of the things that as a caregiver we hope for. And for a long time when I first started caring for her, I had that hopeful, positive thought process that if I could change her routines enough between food and exercise to begin with, that it would be enough to either slow or postpone the progression of her dementia. But I wanted to heal her. I wanted to bring her back. But I had to come to a realization that the track that she was on, because of her lifestyle choices previously, that she wasn't coming back in the way I wanted her to or needed her to. But when I did get her out that fresh air
Yes.
is amazing. You know, reconnecting, I should say, with nature is just amazing. And then
Absolutely.
doing the walking, she seemed to come back in a sense where I could see it in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
The coherency, the cognitive functions,
Yeah.
you know, the ability to have conversation again made a world of difference for us.
Yeah. And the more that, so blood flow, right?
And that's where, when I think about the circulation and in addition to the circulation, the deterioration. And one of the things that used to put me off from yoga before, because I used to think it wasn't enough. How can yoga actually really help you? Of course, I hadn't tried it yet, so that was my way of talking myself out of it.
Yeah.
But some of the poses that I've learned to do, it makes perfect sense to me now. You know, the names of downward facing dog, that's hilarious. When I see my dog doing a downward facing dog, I'm like,
right?
The dog's doing the downward facing dog. But when I started doing it, I realized, oh, I see what this does. There's functionality behind all of this. Mm-hmm. And it helps with the circulation.
Yep. So one of the movements that I have people do is they go into a plank position and then essentially a downward facing dog, but then they'll take an item and put it like from their right hand and put it by their left foot, and then go back into the plank position and then grab something with their left hand and basically move themselves into that downward facing dog and put it by their right foot. And they're moving back and forth and manipulating their body, and it's all circulation of shoulders, hips, hamstrings, ankles, wrists. I mean, it's just so fully functioning. And then when you get back into that plank position, you have to hold your core tight. So it's just such a good overall well-rounded, and so much of yoga is that.
See, and these movements are things that we take for granted. We don't even consider it. When you go from that, like you said earlier, commuting to work, sitting for work all day, commuting back, getting home, sitting at the dinner table, and then sitting back at the table or the TV, or sitting in front of the TV, and then bedtime.
Yep.
Those are all things that we don't even consider until you're achy and you're feeling the pain or the burn, or in a different way, in a bad way.
Right.
And then once we get moving again, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize how stiff I was. I didn't realize. And when life gets busy, that's the first thing I just throw out.
Yep.
I don't have the time for it. I don't have the energy for it. Physically, I didn't eat well that day, so I really am low of energy. And if I go work out, then I'm depleted of energy. And ironically, I thought, well, I should sleep better, but I don't.
Right.
And if I do, I'm knocked out, and I wake up the next day groggy. And I start my day with low energy.
Yeah. And I think that's actually the time more than any other is when you need to get up and go for a walk. When you start out your day groggy, or when you're at the end of your day and you're feeling lethargic. Like, that's a really good time.
See, and it makes sense to me now. Right. Living it makes sense to me now. But years ago, in that rat race,
oh, for sure,
it was, I believe, the quite opposite. That I'm so tired. It's going to make me feel even worse if I try to work out now.
Yeah.
But and
you can talk yourself out of it.
I know, and I did.
Have a glass of wine with dinner.
Yep.
Oh, I'm already buzzed. I'm good. Give me a book.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, that's real life. And that's a lot of our American culture. We're overworked, over-sedentary, and our life isn't as... So look at other cultures. Look at Spain, for example. We could say, like, oh, we eat, don't eat dinner too late. They eat dinner at 10 o'clock at night. They don't pay a lot of attention to breakfast. Wow. Their lunch and tapas are kind of moderate. But that meal is focused on family, on communication, on culture, on all of the things that we are missing in ours. We visited Spain a few years ago, and there are some kids sitting at our table with some family friends that we were staying with. And they had 3 sons, and the 2 older boys, we gave them, my husband and I, because we have children, we gave them our iPhones so that they could play American games on them. And their parents immediately were like, No. And we were at a big restaurant, and this was a 4-hour lunch.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It was in the middle of the San Fermin festival. So it was like a huge, big day. No, the children were to sit there and communicate with their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their family. And granted, they took turns like taking the kids outside to blow off energy.
Right.
But for the most part, no, they were expected to sit there and be a part of the family and be a part. And granted, we didn't eat the whole 4 hours.
Oh, right, no. But it was a connection. It was
exactly
gathering. And ironically, that time we don't have that anymore.
Nope.
We get behind our devices of any kind, and it's gone.
Well, and just we do it to ourselves too. Think about, and I'm 100% guilty of this. It's like you get up in the morning and you get your kids ready and you go to school, you go to work, and you get done with that. And depending on what your children are into, you might be at practice, band practice, some kind of recital, whatever the case is.
Yes.
If you have multiple children, they might be going to different directions.
All different, yep.
You don't get home until 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Nobody's cooking dinner because everybody needs to get either their homework done or get to bed. So then we end up with that fast food lifestyle. As an adult caring for an older adult that you still have your family at home.
Right.
You're stuck in that as well. So now it's like, okay, well, I got to feed my mom something, but we still have this, and this that need to be accomplished today, this afternoon, after school, whatever the case is.
Right.
And so we fall into really bad habits of, well, I'll just work out tomorrow. Or
tomorrow,
I don't even have time.
Next day,
or
next day.
I'm too tired because I had so much going on today.
Right.
And so even if you don't have that super mundane, like drive, work, drive, eat, bed, even if you have all of those extra activities, you're not getting any better work in, and you're not servicing your body any better either.
No, and then you are back into another cycle,
Yep.
a vicious cycle that each day and the next day comes by the weekend time period. I'm so exhausted. All I want to do is sleep.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and so, okay, so this actually leads into something that you and I had discussed was once we don't have that responsibility anymore, like once we don't have that person that we have to care for anymore, what happens? And you were saying from your relationship, like that people get sick.
And that's the scary thing with the caregiving is that you put everything into the time of caring for your loved one that you forget about yourself. And so when your loved one actually passes on, then you're the one that ends up getting sick because you have depleted everything you had, and your immune system, I mean, all of it starts falling down. And so you open yourself up to not only being exposed to those same bad habits that they lived in because you're just trying to get by at this point, but now by depleting your energy and your immune system dropping, now you're opening yourself up to way more things, and you might notice that you're getting sick more often.
Sure.
You don't even realize it until before you know it, I'm tired all the time. I just don't have the energy. And so we're back to that. Well, I need to go in and have my blood work checked. Is it a vitamin deficiency? Is it a hormone thing? Is it all of the above?
And a lot of that is just from continuing in the rat race. And I think a lot of it is not allowing yourself to the freedom to take time out for yourself, but also offer yourself forgiveness for not being perfect. Like, you don't need to be there 110% of the time. Like,
right.
You really need to cut out time for yourself. And that can look like anything. That can literally be a walk around the block. If you're in a position where that person that you're taking care of can literally not be left alone for that amount of time, find a way to either bring them along or stroll them along or whatever that looks like for you, or get up a little bit earlier, 5 to 10 minutes earlier, practice a meditation, practice very simple yoga. But carving that time out for yourself is not selfish. Carving that time out for yourself is your sanity. That's something that's really going to pay you back tenfold later, because you'll always be able to revert back to that comfort zone. And especially, it's not just that person is gone, you have healing to do. Like, even though they weren't here necessarily mentally or physically, and you're taking care of them as if they were your child, like, when they're gone, even though there will be some relief in that, there's going to be a lot of pain and a lot of healing to be done then as well. And
that's even exhausting in itself.
Sure.
But one of the things I finally saw in this whole mix of things, I caught myself saying so many times, I don't have the time.
Yes.
And then I realized each time I was saying I don't have the time, I was really saying I don't have the will. because when I looked back over my evenings, my mornings, the days, I had the time. Sure. I just chose not to. So I'd come home from work and I'd sit on the couch and I'd sift through my phone. I'd play games,
For sure.
And just, there was so much time.
You were unplugging. You were like zoning out.
And that's what I kept telling myself. I'm just going to unwind. I'm going to decompress. I'm going to relax. I'm just going to take a little bit of time for myself. Before I knew it, so much time had gone by and now it's time to go to bed and I'll just do it tomorrow. Well, then I started thinking, if I have so much time, then I have no more excuses. And so I found in one of the smallest things I could find and squeeze time in was if I was brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
I started doing leg lifts. To the sides.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'd have one hand on the counter and my left leg lifts, 5 times to the right, 5 times to the left. Or when I would turn the shower on. I used to turn the shower on and I'd actually sit on my phone, reading email or checking calendars or whatever it was. And so if I turn the shower on, I'm waiting for it to warm up. I'm doing what's called donkey kicks, pushing the legs back, knees kicking up in the front, and then again, legs to the side. Just anything where I was moving and stretching. And I gradually worked it into the day to where if I was sitting at a red light, and then I got a little obsessive with this because I'm in the car, commuting, wherever, I'm running errands for the day, and I'm sitting at a red light, and I'm trying to do core crunches or side to side, anything that I could work in. And then I realized, how many times did I say I don't have the time, and how much time I really had throughout the day? I'm just like, okay, no more excuses. I need to change this lifestyle now while I have the ability to do it.
Right.
And it's not not take that mentality of, oh, I've got time, because that's the scary part. As soon as we fall into that, I've got time, you don't realize that anything could happen health-wise. I mean, it doesn't have to be something, majorly traumatic. You don't have to have like a car accident or a heart attack or something.
Right.
It could just be as soon as you get into that mentality, that's the mentality that keeps us from changing, starting today. Because it takes at least 21 days to build a habit.
Sure.
And it doesn't take but 2 or 3 days to drop it.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of people, when they say like, I don't have time, could replace that with, it's not a priority to me.
Absolutely. And that's when I realized, just like I would change with food, having to substitute one for the other, I had to substitute the thought process.
Yep.
If I was saying, and I had to train myself into that. Every time I was saying, I don't have the time, I had to stop and think, wait a minute. Why am I avoiding this?
Yes.
What is so hard about this, or what is so daunting about, why am I trying to not make time for this, and how important is this?
And it probably goes back to the 2 things: guilt over taking time for yourself, and you have this, for whatever reason, social expectation that you have to spend an excessive amount of time doing it.
And that was what was the turn off to me before, was gym membership. I've purchased gym memberships before and then wouldn't go for months.
Yeah.
Or I would go and I'd actually use the gym membership, but I would get so incredibly sore that I would give myself, a day or 2 days of recovery. And then before you knew it, I broke my routine and I wasn't keeping up with it.
Yep. It happens a lot. That's why I break up my muscle groups. So like I do upper body, lower body, upper body. And so then when helps. Something is sore, it's fine. I'm not working that area today anyway.
Exactly. The excuse is gone.
Yeah, the excuse is gone. But something else in relationship to that is doing at least 20 minutes of activity that gets your heart rate up. Now, this can be absolutely done in the home, and it doesn't have to be consecutive 20 minutes. And I think that's another thing that people don't realize, is that you do not have to be sweaty, heart rate up for 20 straight minutes. Like, you could literally aggressively vacuum your house.
Oh, true. True.
And that might take 10 or 15 minutes depending on how big your house is. It could take all day depending on how big your house is. But sweeping, anything that's like doing that twisting motion, if you just even for the next 1 or 5 minutes, if you're going to do 1 minute on, 30 seconds off, air squats.
Oh, right.
You know, just squat in the air. Just things that are just naturally getting you going. And again, that's something that can do if you cannot leave your charge, without supervision. But things that we don't think about, probably for 2 reasons. One, exercise can be daunting. Like, there's so much information out on the internet of all of the things that you could be doing, so it doesn't feel as simple as just a few quick movements. But then I think secondarily, it goes back to that it's not really a priority.
It's not. And, you know, for my mom, it definitely was nowhere close to a priority. It was actually effort she was not willing to put into, but seeing the drawbacks of her being able to communicate, and then even to the point of having everyday regularity, natural BMs.
Oh,
I mean,
for sure.
constipation and everything else that follows along with that. It's just,
Yep.
we're blessed with these temples, our
Right.
bodies, and we have to take care of them. And when we reach that point of not being able to take care of them anymore,
Yeah.
it falls apart way faster than you can imagine.
Yeah. I think Paul said it in Corinthians, race as if you're going to run, like you're running the race on purpose as if you're going to be a winner.
That's perfect.
Don't beat the air, you know, thoughtlessly, like train and condition as if you're going to really box an opponent. Treat your body thoughtfully,
Right.
and your body will then reward you. And it's not only the reward of the physical health. If you think about your spiritual health, it's the same way. Like if you
Absolutely.
meditate in the morning, if you do your ritual prayers, things like that, however that looks for you. I love to listen to sermons in the morning. That's something that, because I'm the opposite of you. I love early mornings. Like I'm the jam at 4:30 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I love to be at the gym at 5:45. But, you know, that time in the morning it's dark outside, it's quiet. I'm the only person in my car. I don't have to contend with, you know, children or music, whatever. And I put on a sermon, and that's like how I build my soul temple. And then I go to the gym and I build my physical temple. And I will tell you, in all of my years of coaching, in all of my years of training, the people that are the most successful in their lifestyle change is realizing that when you strengthen your body, when your soul feels weak, you're actually strengthening your soul. Because there's no one else to spend time with other than you when you're on a treadmill. There's no one else to spend time with when you're in a yoga pose except for yourself. And you can really look into yourself and think, gratitude. How can I be more loving? How can I be more caring? How can I give more? How can I take the gifts that are given to me with greater gratitude and reception? You know, when somebody offers to help, how can I be gracious and say thank you and actually take it, which is a problem for a lot of people. True. How can I thoughtfully, kindly ask for help when I am losing my mind?
That's awesome.
So having those moments with yourself while working your body is actually going to make both your mind and your body stronger.
It comes back to the self-care.
Yes.
And compassion for yourself.
Yes.
And it relieves the guilt.
Yes.
You're forgiving yourself.
Yes. In all of my time training, the times when I was in the most emotional pain, I think I trained the hardest. And it's all because I know that I can't control that environmental stimuli emotionally.
Right.
But I can control how I treat my body. And some people drink, some people turn to drugs. I turn to the gym.
And that's what I've been doing more recently, and it has helped me. It helps clear the head, it helps clear the mind, it helps lighten the heart. And by the end of the day, I don't have the guilt.
Right.
I don't have the exhaustion as much as I used to, and it's a choice, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, and people that go through anxiety too.
Yeah.
I think that reduces anxiety.
I had got to a point when I stepped out of the corporate world, trying to transition, and I think it was the first time in my life that I had dealt with anxiety on that kind of a level.
Yeah.
Having panic attacks and not even knowing what it was, what I did to create it. But the more I got into meditation and yoga, the less I had the issues.
Yep.
The better my body felt.
Yep.
And then it created a better cycle, a newer cycle, and something that I can see going forward, that I want to live till I'm 100 and, plus.
For sure.
And I want to be that 80-year-old woman still doing yoga.
My husband's grandma.
And it's possible.
Yeah, she's almost 91, and she picks one exercise. So it's either a stationary bike or kind of a sitting elliptical type thing. 'Cause she is 91. She does 1 mile on either one of those every day.
That's
and then
awesome.
they have an indoor pool in the facility that she lives in, and I think she does I don't know that she does it in the winter months because, they get cold very easily when you have like the poor circulation. But in the summertime when it's hot, she does, I think, water aerobics once or twice a week. 91. She's like, I just feel better when I do it. And I was like, yeah, Grandma, you go.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
There's willpower right there at its best.
Yeah. And it's social, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. If you can get out and you can find a community and you can find a family, especially in your Zumba class, in your cycling class, at the gym, whatever that looks like for you.
A workout buddy.
Yeah. A girlfriend, a guy friend.
Somebody
whatever.
to keep you accountable.
Yes, that. And that's a great way to let life out, because laugh with them, cry with them, explain your stresses, ask advice. Don't receive advice well. Be like, I appreciate where you're coming from, but no. Just like whatever that looks like. But it's so healing, and that human compassionate touch being all in there. And where's the easiest way to do it? On a walk around the block.
And that's where exercise comes in.
Yes.
And it's not what people think. It's not the begrudgingly time at the gym and I have to lift 20 pounds more than I could do the day before or anything to maintain it. It's just exercise is not intended to be the chore of a day. It's intended for far more than that. So. Yes. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
So for those that, I want to remind our listeners, for those that would like to reach out to you, they can find Katie
You can
Epps.
find me at mybodygx.com. So mybody, GX stands for genetics. Or if you're interested in home workouts or gym workouts or even healthy recipes or healthy lifestyle options, you can follow me on Instagram at mybodygx. So I'm trying to get as much content and information out as possible for living that healthier, well-rounded lifestyle.
And we need to get the word out more because time is precious.
For sure. Well, thank you so much again for having me.
Thanks for being here. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. This is Jessica from jessicalazalcannon.com, and you can also find me on Instagram under Proactive Caregiver. And I look forward to next week's session. We're going to continue on with the lifestyle category, but we're going to step forward towards meditation. We're going to take this yet another step forward.
To learn more about proactive caregiving and to hear other episodes of this podcast, please go to www.jessicalazalcannon.com. That's www.jessicalazalcannon.com. This podcast is produced by Cannon Light Media LLC. www.cannonlightmedia.com. Music provided by Chris Paradise.